The UAAP season 86 is well on its way. One more sleep, and big things are coming, especially for the women's basketball division, as we have been talking about all throughout here on the show. And here to talk more about what's new and other important announcements is UAAP Women's Deputy Commissioner, Atty. Mariana Lopa. Welcome back to the show. And I want to start, Lexi, by saying that the last time you were here, you were had the role of analyst for certain games and for the national team, which brings me to my first question. When was the idea of coming up with the commissioner's team and having you as a deputy commissioner, especially concentrating on women's basketball, brought up to you? And was it a problem for you? Did you have any hesitation of accepting? Talk us through that process.
Actually, the idea of having me on board in the commissioner's team for the UAAP was brought up a year ago.
A year ago, interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
But
prior to season 85?
Yes, season 85.
Okay.
But I don't know, one thing led to another. Hindi natuloy, season 85. And then they brought it up again, season 86. And I said, yeah, sure, of course. Because if you look at the major leagues in the US, almost all commissioners of major sports in the US are lawyers.
Right.
So when they asked me, I said, of course, perfect. This is what I've been wanting to do since for a long time. Yeah.
So you had an eye on like being a commissioner at some point specifically for the UAAP?
I suppose so, but then I also knew it was a long shot just because we've never had a female commissioner.
Right. Okay.
And
or
of
at least
course-
an active one.
Yes.
Yeah. And you share your apprehensions. And of course, I want to ask, how do you balance doing everything? Like being a lawyer during the day, being the newest Deputy Commissioner for the UAAP Women's Basketball. And how does this mean to you, of course, being an advocate for such a great thing?
I always say that my life as a student athlete prepared me for this.
Yeah.
I see my day job as a lawyer as school, and then all the basketball stuff is like my sports now. So that's basically it.
Well, things work out for a reason, right? And the timing is always perfect. So you've gotten that background and then the legal part of it. So it's a perfect combination now. Okay, the press conference. Did you feel the energy that I felt during the press conference? It was just great. It was such positivity. And of course, the spotlight on women's basketball. Tell me your general thoughts on what happened and what transpired.
I was super impressed and super happy for the coaches because they spoke up and each of them thanked the league, thanked everybody who allowed them to be there, and thanked the league for the coverage, Signal for the coverage. And it's really, that's what I say about women's basketball. You give them so little and it goes such a long way. Super happy about that.
And you mentioned that you were a former athlete yourself for the Atty Blue Eagles. And maybe how does this newfound attention affect the players themselves? Does this give them a bit more of jitters with excitement, or do they get more excited with the thought of being having more light on
a lot of these players are super excited about the coverage. Why? Because before this, a lot of their families couldn't watch them play. A lot of the players come from the provinces or even abroad, right? Exactly. And before this kind of coverage that they're going to be given, their parents had never seen them play a UAAP game. So this is super exciting for the players.
Right, and of course, they can now watch them live in all the venues. And just to add on, for those who don't know yet, all of the games will be covered live on the Pilipinas Live app, with replays also both on Pilipinas Live, because we have the games on demand, so they can watch it anytime, anywhere they want to. And also to remind you that if you like the TV screen, of course, there's the UAAP Varsity channel, which you can watch the replays in high definition. So we've got women's basketball covered, and we've got a separate panel. Specifically, we trained some really new talents this year, former players. That should excite you too.
Definitely. I love that you guys got former players as the analysts for women's basketball, because it's such a tight-knit community that it's good when you have an analyst that actually knows the players, number one, and knows what the players are going through, like preparation-wise and in the game itself. And they know the little things, like the rivalries we're not so familiar with, the history of these players, where they're from, what they study. These girls will be perfect for the analyst job.
Right now, we're in the context of the players. Maybe we can delve into how does this elevate? Of course, there are players who got more experience being part of the national team. But then how does this elevate, or how does this signify the importance of those who didn't make it into the roster?
You mean the college players who didn't make it to the
Yes,
national
yes.
team roster? Yeah, definitely this gives them a little bit of an edge because then the national team program can watch all their games. You don't have to have Coach Pat running from venue to venue. You know, that's huge for them. Another one is you just have a database of games, right? If these girls want to go abroad, maybe after college, then they can direct teams to watch their games live on the app, right? It's huge. This step of covering all the games and having it on the app worldwide is huge for the girls.
Right, and I personally think also it becomes so aspirational for the girls now because
Right.
of the attention that it gets. Speaking of attention, you will pay attention closely to the games,
Yes.
Attorney, because you're going to be there every day. Of course, you're going to be with us with the men's basketball too.
Yes.
But you are going to oversee the women's tournament. Tell us, what are some of the exciting things that you're looking out for? Plus, siguro na rin some of the challenges, because this is your first time. Even if you are embedded in women's basketball, as a commissioner, it's a completely different role for you.
Right. What I'm super excited for is I think this year is the first year that we're going to have a little bit more even playing field. For the past 7 years, it's been NU and everyone else.
Right, right.
But that's the nature of things, right? You set the bar and the others try to reach
Yes.
it. And I think we're already at that level where the other teams are slowly catching up with NU in terms of recruitment support and all of that. So that's what I'm super excited for, the on-court competition. In terms of challenges, these past few weeks, for the past month and a half, we've been training with the referees every
Of course,
week.
yeah.
And I'm what you would call a tao ng basketball. I love basketball. I watch it all the time.
In all levels,
All
whatever level.
levels.
Yeah, okay.
But training with the referees opened my eyes to how much I don't know about basketball.
Right, right.
In terms of what the referees are looking at, the new updated rules, the new updated FIBA rules, the difference between FIBA rules and pro rules. There's so much to learn, but I'm excited for the challenge.
Wala pang ibag si attorney, so pwede pa. Parang hindi pa masyadong, or naitatago lang.
Pero I think more than anything else, I think we are also more than excited to meet the UAAP women's basketball teams. Meron ka bang sariling pick na
Nako!
parang the dark horse whatsoever? Or is there anyone that talagang it's an even playing field?
That's a tough question. But we'll see, we'll see. I think in the press con it was clear. Teams are looking out for NU and UST. But I think dark horses, you've got last year's Final Four, Ateneo, you've got UP retooling, they've got 2 national team players on the team. Super exciting.
Okay, one last question. We always talk about the women's basketball and the players and all that. How about the coaching? The coaching is also elevated with all of this, right, attorney?
You've got some great coaches on the women's side. Like in UST, you have Coach Heidi, who's
Yeah.
been there for years.
Right.
On NU, you have Coach Aris inheriting that program, but he carried on the legacy last year.
course.
In LaSalle, not enough is said about how good Coach Cholo is. In all the teams that he goes to, he's
Yeah,
great.
exactly. I agree. Obviously, I covered his career, and he's a
Right.
winner.
Yes.
And then I pointed out in the press conference, Ryan Monteclaro, a former player for Adamson
exactly.
University.
It's great to see the men's players also come join the women's side in the coaching staff. So you have Ryan, you have Bacon, Austria, and
LA,
Ateneo.
yeah.
LA Momar. Bacon's brother is on the
Correct,
UST coaching staff. So
Yay.
you've got
See?
great coaches all
Yeah,
around.
that's why I was saying it's not just the players. The coaching is elevated with women's
Exactly.
basketball.
Thank you so much, Attorney Mariana,
We're
for
excited.
being
Yes,
with us.
super excited.
Especially this Sunday, we're going to witness more of the UAAP women's basketball.
Thank you for coming.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for having me.